Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back for this week's episode. Got a good one here for you. I know you're busy. Let's jump right into it. All right, guys. The first one I got here is from Joe Rogan. He's got a guest on here, and they're kind of talking about the education system, classroom environment when it comes to kids. I'll let you listen in.
A theory to that, like a lot of things starts in school, because you look at kids. I have two boys and one daughter, Henry, Ivan, and Eleanor, and they 5, 7, 9, they can do monkey bars, pull-ups, muscle-ups, like they do judo, they play hockey, they're very active. But school, the way that physically classroom is designed is wrong. It's like putting them in a cast for the next 15 years. And then they're going to come out of high school like I was, unable to climb a rope, unable to do monkey bars, unable to do anything, right? And then they're going to go to more school and sit down for more times. So
they don't get enough physical activity.
And not even close.
No.
And not even the education towards it, not even the education of nutrition. It's
right.
Yeah.
And they get graded and evaluated on how well they listen in gym class, which is completely insane.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's just that making them sit down for all that time during the day. We're just preparing them for some job that's going to be unnatural in the first place.
Making good little taxpayers.
Oh.
It's kind of a bummer there. They're talking about just school and the classroom. I mean, geez, how many kids these days really hate school? I know I didn't like school that much. And maybe as a boy, whatever, we're more adventurous, a little crazy up top. But, we want to get out there. We want to explore. We want to be outside playing. And maybe not these boys these days. They just want to hang out and watch YouTube. But really, though, it's kind of sad. Our classroom, what's the first thing they always cut when budget time comes? It's PE. They always threaten to cut that, or art programs or stuff like that. The stuff that actually gets your mind to exercise its creativity. And especially when it comes to health, I mean, the kids don't learn how to, really eat. They don't learn how to really, move even. Certain biomechanics and whatever. And of course it's the parents' job too to teach that ultimately. But I mean, what's the whole point of school if you're not going to learn like the most important things out of life? Teaching you how to be good little taxpayers. Dang, that's a bummer.
And look at it too. This is a model of school that was based on like religious schools, and like old Catholic schools, let's say in Quebec. How did you keep them from like being distracted? The ruler and the fingers, you go to the corner, the leather strap. Now we haven't changed the classroom, the schedule, and the curriculum barely, but there's no more straps. So like, okay, we haven't changed anything. Like, it's normal that particularly little boys don't listen in school that well. We have to find a way, we have to redesign school from like the schedule, the design of the classroom, the hallways, the introduction. Like we have to bring restaurants back into school, like cafeteria and all that. No, but like cafeterias. And I don't know if it's you that talked with Jeff Bridges about that, because he's in the like school lunches thing. And the problem with school lunches is that if you subsidize half the kids, then you have a kid with like a badge here that says like poor,
Yeah.
So the only way to do that, and I know some people are a bit anti-socialist, but you have to feed all the kids. It's like crucial.
I mean, the idea that that's a problem. I mean, Jesus Christ, we're talking about food and also the sense of community that's established when everybody eats together. You're gonna create this rift between students where you establish that one student is poorer than the other one. So it's gonna fuck them up already.
Interesting take there that, school was set up to be super disciplined back in the day. They would punish you. They would hit you. I remember some of my friends being hit growing up, but they kind of stopped that while I was, I think, probably around 3rd or 4th grade. But so they stopped all those different ways to keep boys in check, punishment-wise, with hitting and spanking. But they stopped all that. But the mechanism's still the same. So now you're expected to behave without those mechanisms in place, kind of putting boys in a handicap, I think. So here we're with Rogan again, just from a different episode. I think I used some clips from this video before, but here he's talking with Mikhaila Peterson. Mikhaila Peterson, she was able to heal a lot of the different ailments. She had a lot of autoimmune stuff going on with her. She started doing the carnivore diet, and a lot of her symptoms went away, and stuff that she was having problems with for most of her life healed up. And so now she got into the consulting business, and Rogan's kind of asking her like, hey, that's cool, but do you feel kind of weird that you're kind of trying to figure out your own, issues, and now you're helping other people, charging them for it, but you don't have a degree in nutrition yourself? Here's her response.
Is it a big leap to you're just trying to figure your own life out to help other people online? You don't have a degree in nutrition or anything, right?
God, no. Well, but what am I going to get a degree in nutrition for? They still teach people to eat grain. So that was never in the books.
Do you think that today, if you...
One of the funny things about grain, I love the argument, especially when it comes to beef, when they talk about grass-fed, grass-finished, or is it grain-finished, and how somehow grain-finished is so bad or so evil because it fattens up the cow, does this, does that, inflammatory fats, whatever. But human beings, we eat straight grain. So it's like, if it's bad for the cow to be finished on grain the last couple months of its life to get fat before slaughter, why are we eating grain at all? Somebody could answer that. That'd be fantastic. But she's saying, why am I going to get a degree in nutrition? They're still teaching people to actually eat grain.
You went to a university today, like a really good school. Do you think they would still be saying that grains are a good idea to eat?
I do.
Yeah.
I don't know that, so I could be wrong. But yeah, I would say it's still pretty food pyramid-y.
Well, I don't know if they go the old way with when you were reading Dr.
don't think
Seuss
it's
books where the
changed.
bottom is all rice and wheat.
I don't think it's really changed. I think it's eat a good mix of, make sure you get your fruits and vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
Some
But
whole
isn't that
grain.
a good idea?
That's what they
for
tell you when
most
you're
people?
pregnant.
But for most people.
I don't think so. Grain?
Really?
We've been eating grain for what? Maybe 20,000 years in some areas.
Mm-hmm.
More like 10,000 years, and in some areas 2,000 years. And if you're Native American, 200 years. We haven't been eating grain for very long. Why do people suddenly think they can digest that? Just because we're people?
So you don't believe rice? Rice is a grain.
Rice, I think, is a lot less inflammatory than some grains. The gluten grains are obviously a lot harder on people.
Mm-hmm.
And even I tolerated rice kind of for a while. But yeah, I think grains feed a lot of people. And so that's why the agricultural
Right.
era came around. Now we can feed tons of people, but it doesn't make people thrive. And I don't think it's good for their gut. I don't think that's surprising considering we haven't been eating it long enough to evolve with it.
That's kind of interesting. She's basically saying, look, we haven't been eating it that long as a human species, so why do we all of a sudden think we can actually eat it and be okay? It feeds a lot of people. It helps people to actually survive, but when it comes to thriving and optimal performance, might be something that you might want to cut out. All right, for this one, we're shooting over to impact theory. Tom Bilyeu is talking about what in the world does a kid actually do? They're turning 18. How do you advise them?
We're talking to somebody who's 18 right now. They're trying to decide, do I go to college, yes or no? Mm-hmm. Should they go to college? And if they go to college, what should they be studying?
It's a very difficult question. The first thing they should realize is that nobody really knows. Nobody really knows how the job market would look like in 2040. Sure. So they should be suspicious of all these kinds of advices by people who pretend that they know what the job market would need in 20 years. The best investment, I would say, is in emotional intelligence and in mental balance and these kinds of skills of how to keep changing throughout your life, how to keep learning throughout your life. Now, how do you learn that? That's very, very difficult. We don't have a college degree in mental flexibility. But these are the most important tools. So whatever you choose, you can go to law school, you can go to ballet school, but you should keep in mind that much of what I'm learning might be irrelevant in 20 or 30 years. So whatever else I'm doing, I should also invest in developing my emotional intelligence, my mental balance, my ability to keep changing and learning and reinventing throughout my life. So maybe to give an image or a metaphor, if in the past education was like building a stone house with very deep foundations, now I would say that education is more like constructing a tent that you can fold up and move to another location very quickly and easily.
That's fascinating. That's fascinating. This guy almost sounds like he should, and I know people, think they have it all figured out. They go to school for this and they end up switching, 10 careers by the time they're done. But maybe that's the only way to do it. I mean, he's kind of making an argument for it. Like your education system or your job or whatever, it's not so much like this, foundation built in bedrock. Maybe it's a tent, and maybe every 10 years you do have to switch your career, or every 5 years or 20, who knows. But, maybe you do have to switch it sometimes, and sometimes it can be kind of scary, especially if you got you're riding on a pension or something like that. You got a lot of stake in it that you've been putting in many, many years, and you can't quit or can't find something else because you would lose all those years. But he's kind of saying, look, if you want to stay relevant, you got to keep that mind going constantly, all the time. All right, so speaking of changing your mind and not doing what you originally thought you were going to do, we head over to Tim Ferriss' show. He's got on Ken Block. Ken Block was co-founder of DC Shoes. Got a crazy story, racing, millions of views on YouTube, on all over the internet. Here, we'll check out his story.
The funny thing is I started off in high school studying architecture. I wanted to be an architect. And I did all sorts of drafting through high school. And then when I got out of high school, I went straight to a computer-aided drafting school and did that for a year. And then I got into the business and I hated it. Like, I loved it as an art and I loved it as a study, but actually the business of it, I just didn't like.
What didn't you like about it?
I guess because I enjoy the art of architecture, but the only people that get to do the art of architectures are the people at the top.
Right.
And it takes either a ton of money or, 30 to 40 years of climbing to the top. And I just saw that once I realized being in the business what it took. And I just said, yeah, that isn't for me. So, being a skateboarder and a snowboarder, I wanted to do that stuff more. So I actually quit working for this architecture firm and ended up moving to Breckenridge, Colorado for 2 years and being a snowboard bum. And I was actually friends with a bunch of, pro snowboarders. And I looked up to those guys and wanted to be them. But in the end, I just knew I didn't have the talent. I didn't have the skill set that they had. And I saw that. So I moved back to California and went back to college and started studying screen printing, graphic design, graphic layout, all that sort of stuff. And I just really enjoyed it. And I thought, I could, because of my interest in skateboarding and snowboarding, I started designing some shop T-shirts for one of the shops that I was friends with out in Colorado. And, I thought, this would be great if I could actually be a part of this industry I love.
All right, so think about that there. He went to school for architecture, loved architecture, didn't love the business of it though. Politics, whatever, climbing the ladder. He was like, no thanks. Ended up meeting some people. He went back to school just like that other guy was talking about, that mental flexibility. Keep it going, be open to certain things. And definitely he seems to have hit a home run. Okay, so heading back to Rogan again. He had on Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang is a Democrat running for president, actually, in 2020. So he's going over the education system and kind of what he sees as being problematic.
Our education system has a lot to be desired. And one of the things I'm saying is it's making all these kids think that college is the end all be all, and it is not.
Yeah.
And so that's one issue, is that we need to try and prepare kids for different kinds of paths instead of saying college, college, college.
Yeah.
Because they're going to college, they're getting loaded up with record levels of debt. College has gotten 2.5 times more expensive, even though it has not gotten 2.5 times better. And the reason why it's gotten so expensive is because they've just gotten really bloated administratively.
And what would you do about that? Like, Bernie Sanders wants to have some sort of a
Free college.
free university. Yeah, he wants to do it across the board. Have education to be 100% free. Is that something? I mean, look, I love that on paper. I one of the things that I hate is talking to my friends about college debt. You know, friends that are in their 30s and 40s.
You just follow them around.
Yeah, it just stays with them like a wet blanket that you can never get out of.
Yeah, student loan debt is no joke. 2.5 times more expensive college has gotten, and he says, according to him, it's not gotten 2.5 times better. Could probably agree with that to a certain point. The crazy thing about going back to debt, though, is it's weird that you can file bankruptcy, if you're down on your luck. Everything gets wiped out. Your credit card debt could get wiped out, mortgage, whatever. But student loan debt does not get wiped out. It stays with you forever. That seems so crazy. There seems like there's something going on there where they're like, hey, we'll send everybody to college for free. Well, it's not really free. It's free to you at that time that you're going, but you have the next 30 or 40 years to pay it off, right? And if you do end up falling on hard times and you can't pay this thing back, where normally you'd be able to file bankruptcy, you can't. It's there with you forever. Maybe, I don't know. It seems like super sketchy to me.
I used to call my school loans my mistress because I was writing a check to like another family in another town. I was like, I hope they're enjoying themselves. So it's like I'm sending like $900 a month to my loans.
And what's crazy is that if something devastating happens to you in any other form, you can file for bankruptcy. But you never escape your student loans, no matter what happens to you.
That was just some lobbying on the part of the financial companies, man. They just lobbied the crap out of it.
That is dirty. That's really dirty. When you think about how many people that run corporations that have racked up, I mean, just think about what happened with the savings and loan crisis.
Completely, man.
And those guys skated. Woo!
Yeah.
The vast majority they're carrying around zero burden from that.
Yes.
The vast majority. No one went to jail except a few people.
Not really anybody.
Well, real criminals like Bernie Madoff went to jail. A few people went to jail.
That's true.
But that's about it. You'd have to be a real fucking thief to go to jail. And these people that just, they did this and got away with it and profited and redistributed all this money into their own personal accounts and fucked the whole economy sideways.
Yeah, but heaven forbid you take out a bunch of school loans and then things go south. Like, you can't get out of it.
I mean, I know a guy who's in his 50s, who's an ophthalmologist, who's deeply in debt still. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. And if you look at it just economically, it's a massive burden on people starting businesses, starting families, buying homes, instead of living with their parents. It's possible to fix, for sure. So the first thing you do is you go to the people that are currently in.
It's a huge burden, 100%. It affects everything, too, because it affects your debt-to-income ratio when you graduate, when you're trying to get a house, trying to start a family or whatever. You have, like he was saying, a mistress somewhere else writing a check for $900, $1,000 a month. That's considered a debt on your income, and you might not even be able to qualify for certain things too, which is, it's so sad, so ridiculous. System's crazy. So I think he was getting into how to fix it.
Debt and say, look, we're going to give you a path out. And there are ways to do it. You could have a payment plan. One of the things I'm proposing is like a 10 by 10, where if you commit 10% of your wages for 10 years, then you're debt free. And that means, like, if you're not making a lot of money, then you can save a whole lot. And the schools at this point have long since forgotten about these loans because they got paid off already. This is just these financial companies that are holding the loans.
That's important for people to understand, because people think, well, if you don't pay them, the colleges are going to go away.
No. So if you're the government, you can be like, hey, loan company, guess what? Like, good news, we're going to take this off. It's a stimulus. Because like you said, we've done a lot of things that were supposed to be a stimulus, like give $4 trillion to the banks and be like, that'll stimulate the economy. Nothing's going to stimulate the economy better than getting student loans off the backs of freaking young people, because they'll actually do what they're supposed to do, which is like actually, spend money in the economy,
Take chances.
Start businesses and the rest of it. I mean,
Boom. There you go. Stimulus for the people, not for the banks. Sounds good to me. All right, so to wrap this up, I found a funny clip from Owen Benjamin. I couldn't get the video to work right, but the audio is pretty epic. He's talking about college and the difference with government actually subsidizing some of the costs when it comes to certain grants, certain loans, whatever, and how, colleges raise the prices. Check it out.
But my instinct says cash grab. It reminds me a lot of government funding colleges, where they're like, the government will fund our college. How much is it a year? They're like, it's $5,000 a year. Wait a minute, the government will cover it? $100,000. And we'll let in anyone.
So there it is. Oh, how much is college? Oh, yeah, it's $5,000. Oh, sweet. Oh, the government's gonna cover it? Oh, $100,000 then. That can't blame the colleges for it though, man. They're gonna do whatever you let them get away with. Such a bummer though. All right, guys. Well, that's all I got for this one. If you know any 18-year-olds going to be making some decisions in the next couple months, shoot them over this video. Give them a different viewpoint. All right. We'll see you next time. Peace.